Don't ask me. I don't know. Show before me. I am playing around with stuff. Not supposed to be like this. So forgo the intro. Here I am. Welcome to the Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey since the very beginning. So thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Sick, the Sonic Surgeon, for the contribution of his voice, his music, and his time. For the intro that you did not hear tonight, but he's still my sponsor. I want to get it out there. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind our logos. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also does some really incredible commission pieces. Also, big shout out to our Grand Poobah, our chief, our leader of the United Public Radio Network, Joe Montaldo. Happy birthday. A really big deal, Tim. So make sure you give him a big shout out. I remember doing a show in the Gray Zone. He goes, well, we're going to be doing one in and around my birthday, and I want to do one based on the origins and ancient origins all surrounding birthdays. And I went, so did my deep dives, and we did a show based on that. So anyway, go show him some love and acknowledge his big day tonight. Tonight's gonna be a lot of fun for me because I really enjoy doing shows with Maxim Furek. He's just a pal, and I love anything that he does. He's working on some really great stuff, which I'm sure he'll sort of give us a little snippet of before the end of the show. But tonight, of course, we're going to be talking about the Smurl Haunting and all kinds of other stuff, paranormal. It's going to go down a very interesting journey of conversation. So here we are, without further ado, Maxim Furek. Hello.
Hi, how you doing, Michelle? Good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks. A bit of a funky start. I'm just like, all of a sudden I got all this stuff on the board. I'm like, why is it still here? Yeah. But anyway, I'll deal with that later.
And we've done this, how many times? Like 5 times, maybe? Something like that, right?
We've done Beyond the Outer Realm a couple times, and you've been on this one at least.
And then you've been a producer for a couple of
I have for Father Sean's. I manage the network here. So I sometimes get the fun privilege of being able to produce a show and meet people. And when you were there, it was just kind of a bonus. It's just like, oh, here we are again.
Well, thank you so much. And I enjoy conversing with you because I think that we've had some really good discussions, some deep dives into the paranormal.
Yeah.
And I so much more than me, but it's just nice to connect with what we know, and then and it helps me to go on add to my vision, to my wide scope. So it's always good. And I really love people that you have a certain vision. Let's say it's from here to here, and some people just open up that vision and make it larger, and faster, and it's just, and you're one of those. So I thank you.
Thank you. And I'm a sharer because I'm not weird about my stuff. Sometimes you try to get information. I would find, and this is something that I would hear from people who would approach me. Is I was very forthcoming. It's like you want to know something. I'm not by any means an expert, but I'll share what I have, and if I don't know, I am not afraid to say I've got nothing.
But as opposed though to people that are territorial and they hang on to their research and their stuff, they don't want to share it. And I found that the people, a lot of, especially the younger people in the paranormal, have just been so supportive and have really opened up doors for me. I mean, it's nice. The young people are like tribal, they're communal, they're they're wonderful. So anyway, that's been my experience.
It is. In the next generation, I am looking forward to seeing what the next generation is going to come up with. Mm-hmm. Because it all goes back. We can look back to Lorraine and Lorraine Warren, who we'll be talking a little bit about tonight. But even before that, I mean, when I did a deep dive for Show and Time, I found paranormal researchers are going back, especially like women, going back to like late 1800s, early
Hmm.
1900s, going into the UK, like you had all kinds of paranormal or parapsychological societies, and it's an old thing, and you pass down the information because if you hoard it, then what does the next generation have?
Right.
You gotta keep
Well,
it going, right? Pay it
yeah,
forward.
yeah, and also try to do our craft, try to do our research and our documentation and our articulation in
Yeah.
the best possible way so that maybe we could get the attention of the scientific community who will say, okay, there may be something here. Let's take a look at it. And for example, way back with John Mack from Harvard, when he was investigating abductees, and a lot of the Harvard elitists, were looking down on him, castigating him because he was not talking their science, their Harvard, politically correct science. He was going out beyond that, but he stuck to his guns. He was a bit of a heretic for the times, but an untimely death, which I don't know what that was all about. But
Mhm.
John Mack was one of my heroes just because he had the courage to keep on persevering and talking about the paranormal. And again, if you're a scientist, it's well, whoever you are. I mean, it could be difficult because there's always pushback. And if I may, you trace this back to the days before Christ. Look at the heretics. I mean,
Huh. Yeah.
because of church and state, they said that okay, that Earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around the Earth. Copernicus was smart enough to realize that no, the Earth went around the sun. So Copernicus, being older, he wasn't around in time for the Inquisition, so he sort of skated. But people like Galileo were
Mhm.
put on house arrest. People like
Yeah.
Bruno were burned at the stake. Why? All because they went against the church, the non-science, the fuzzy science that the sun revolved around the earth. It wasn't true. So what Galileo was punished for and what Bruno was died for was the truth. They spoke their truth. They're
And
martyrs.
eventually, the church came forward and said, "Yes, this was correct."
Yeah,
And look at
yeah,
them today with the telescope. I mean, they dumped tons of money into astrology or
yeah, yeah,
astronomy,
yeah,
rather. I
yeah, yeah.
mean,
But I
their
mean,
telescope, Lucifer.
those names should be household names because those folks were heroes and martyrs and everything else.
Mm,
Galileo and Bruno. So anyway, that's
yeah.
what. When I was doing my research for Flying Saucer Esoteric, I thought, wow, I could, I'm learning about these guys, and it's just pretty amazing what they did.
Mhm.
So a
They're
lot of people,
pioneers.
they were
Pioneers,
pioneers.
and it was the sign of the times.
Hmm.
A lot of information got suppressed then.
Hmm.
Right? You had to just go with the narrative, not really that much different than
Yeah,
what we do today in
yeah,
trying to come forward with information and the narratives and staying
yeah.
within those guidelines.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the information was what they call esoteric knowledge, and it was for the privileged few in monasteries and dark towers and all that. And it wasn't
Mm,
for the common people. But I remember growing up as a Catholic, we were not encouraged to read the Bible as were our Protestant, schoolmates.
mm.
We were told that if you wanted to know anything about the Bible, ask the priest because he could decipher it for you. We weren't able to do that. So I mean, come on, talk about
Yeah.
how archaic that was. I mean, we were
Yes.
we were deprived of knowledge. I mean, and
Yeah,
and
we
our
were. We
and our
were.
counterparts were not. So and that's pretty in recent times. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
a victim of the stupidity. So
I know. It's hard, as an author because, when you're writing, I mean, there's certain types of books when you're writing nonfiction books, you really have to dig deep and cross-reference, and the job is getting harder with AI
I know.
because
Yeah.
of the information, right? And pictures, and it's just a
Uh,
different world.
I belong to a writers group, and I'm a snowbird. I spend summers in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
very lovely, and I spend winters in Florida. And I belong to a writers group down here. And there's one guy that writes what is it called, coming of age
Yes.
books for youth. The cover,
Yeah.
the guy with the shirt, the six packs and all that. And he uses AI to write his books. And when he
Mm,
was doing a presentation a while back, some of the members walked out. I mean, they walked out in protest. I mean, this is
yeah.
not good. This is not what
Yeah.
we do, what we want. I mean, I hate that. I mean, I think I'm a good writer. I do
Mhm.
the research and the proofreading, and I do the artsy stuff, the poetry, the stream of consciousness, you name it. I love doing it, and that's what I do, what I am. And damn, I don't ever want to be accused of using AI or plagiarizing or anything else. I mean, I have respect for myself and my craft, and that's to be
Yes.
called out for using AI or to be called out for plagiarizing. Man, I think I'd take the cyanide pill.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are a lot of organizations now, even through publishing, that will just say no. We won't touch it because
Good. I hope so.
it's not original, especially with art.
Uh-huh.
You know, I mean, I know it's being put out there as the way of the future, and eventually, maybe everybody will go with that. But right now, I think they just still want the originality from the individual, right?
Yeah.
So,
And another side of that, I know some, in my paranormal community, they use this AI to generate these images. So they take their image and they juice it up with the AI. And so some people that aren't really God's most beautiful creatures, they look
yeah.
like Hollywood stars all of a sudden, and it's not them. But I'm thinking, why are you doing this? I mean, come on, this is about as phony, as contrived, and as it can be. That's just not right. So, but
No.
if that makes them happy, then that's fine. I got these ring lights here, and it's like, man, it's like a
Oh
songbird.
no, it's not good.
Yeah, yeah,
That's all right.
yeah.
So we tried to do this back in October, and you had these rolling, crazy storms rolling over
Oh
you in
yeah,
Florida.
yeah.
Remember?
That's right. That's what happened. Yeah, everything went dead, and I tried to
Yes.
contact you. There was no. I had no.
No. So we just sort of
Yeah.
winged it and
So
said, "That's
yeah,
okay. He'll be back, and we'll just do
yeah.
it all over
And
again."
then you contacted me the next day to find out, what was happening.
Like, were
So
you okay? I
yeah.
know. Did she get sucked into a hurricane? Were you all right? I know.
And our buddy Mark Eddy, poor Mark from West Virginia, he gets flooded, a couple months ago. Now he's getting, what is it, like 16 inches of
I
snow or
know.
something? I mean, they're getting pummeled.
Oh, we're
And
getting it Sunday all over the U.S.
yeah, yeah. And I was on the show with Sir Byron Bowden from West Palm Beach, Florida, last night, and he thinks it's going to be a catastrophe. I mean, he's talking
They're
about this is a
saying
storm of a century.
that's going to hit
Wow.
us too. I know.
Wow. Well, I hope you have your bread and milk and all that.
Oh yeah,
Your
we're
little
all right.
baths.
Crawl to the store. No, it'll be all right. A
But
paranormal
you're
adventure.
you're in Ontario, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you get a lot of
Southern. So we're gonna get it.
lake effect stuff.
Everything.
Okay. Wow.
Everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's gonna get a bit funky. So we're just sort of
Wow.
waiting and watching it because apparently the storm is very erratic. It changes its path quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's just sort of moves around a little bit. So they're saying keep checking because it's
Yeah.
moving about. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting. But so this book,
Oh yeah. The
yeah, the
which
Smurl
book
thing, yeah,
out
the
of my nine?
the Smurl Haunting.
Oh, that one. Okay.
The Smurl Haunting. Yeah. What made you want to write this book aside from the fact that I mean, it was a book in itself. Ed and Lorraine Warren, one of their cases, right?
Yeah.
And it ended up being part of the Conjuring series.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I'm just going to put this up so everybody can see it. There we are. When
Yeah. Look
Ed
at
and
that.
Lorraine came to town.
Yeah. Does
Yes.
that work? Do you like that title, When Ed and Lorraine Came to Town?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, just
That's
asking.
yeah, no, I like it.
Okay. Well, they came to northeastern Pennsylvania, and that's my stomping grounds. I'm from northeastern Pennsylvania, Luzerne County. So I was maybe
Yeah.
30 minutes away from West Pittston. So when this happened in the 80s, I kept on going up there, taking pictures, talking to the neighbors. Um, there was a book written called The Haunted, which was about the Smurl haunting. And it
Yes.
was written by Bob Curran, co-authored by Ed and Lorraine and by Jack and Janet Smurl. But when I heard that Ed and Lorraine were going to be on a tour in 1988 in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania,
I
I
love
got
Jim Thorpe.
yeah,
Oh,
isn't that great? Yeah,
I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Has
Yeah.
the painted handprint of the Molly Maguire, who was
Yes.
hung, and he said the handprint's going to stay there on the jail until I am found innocent. So it's still there. They try to paint over.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I got a private tour of the whole joint, and it was just like,
Yes.
wow. And I saw the handprint. No matter how many times they paint over it, it keeps coming back.
Yeah, yeah. And that I don't know if you did the mansion tours, but the Asa Packer mansion has a chandelier that they use. They modeled that chandelier for what famous movie? That's a 10-pointer. Okay.
They probably told us, and I probably I obviously forgot.
It was Gone with the Wind.
Right.
Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
So that's that's some neat things that happened there. But at any rate, in 1988, I met Ed and Lorraine there. We hung out on the sidewalk. It was July. We talked demonology, and it was really good. They're Christians. They talked about the power of Satan but the power of Christ is greater, and it was all this stuff. It was really great. I stayed in touch with them, and I called them over the years and would interview them, and they were very gracious, and I liked them. I mean, they were good to me. They treated me good. So being in my backyard, meeting Ed and Lorraine, and then the third thing, the troika, was the trifecta, was that July 11th, I went to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to see Annabelle the doll. And I met Dan Rivera. And Dan, I told Dan I'm writing this book on the Smurl Haunting. And he agreed to be interviewed on Monday, July the 14th. Unfortunately, I get a phone call and hear somebody said, "Did you hear about that researcher, the paranormal researcher that died?" And I Googled it, and here it was Dan Rivera. And some of the, the newspapers that have interviewed me, they referenced me as one of the last paranormal guys to interview Dan before he died. And one reporter from the Citrus Chronicle in Florida said, "You think that Annabelle killed him so he couldn't talk to me?" But I said, "No, I don't think so." But anyway,
I knew Dan. I knew Dan when he first started with Lorraine.
Yeah.
And I've met Annabelle, and I know. Yeah, there's a lot floating around about that.
Yeah. So, the coroner, they did an autopsy. They said that he died of natural causes, that he had cardiac issues. But other people, like, was it Chris McKenna, McConnell, Ed and Lorraine's grandson, said maybe not. The Psychic Vincent sisters, Suzanne and Jean, said that they felt that the demonic energies could have worn him down, and that's how he died. So I mean, we don't know, but it's in the paranormal. So
paranormal has a way of doing that. There are some things out there that are.
And then, for as crazy as this is, Lorraine wanted Annabelle to stay in Monroe, Connecticut, at the Monroe Museum. So in 2025, they did the Devils on the Run tour and took Annabelle to San Antonio, to New Orleans, to West Virginia Penitentiary, to Gettysburg, and a bunch of other places, and made lots of money. I mean, lots of money. And I calculated the take. They in Gettysburg, 3 days, 1,260 people times $40. It was something like $50,000 there, give or take. With the other three cities, it was around 200,000. But though that's small change, because months later they either sold or rented the artifacts, sold to the house to Matt Rife, the comedian, and his partner for $1 million. So,
they got a lot of backlash about that, and they are the legal custodians of the collection for to be renewed every few years, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there would be more debate. I mean, it is controversial, but I wish there'd be more debate and people would line up and say, I think this is wrong. I mean, you're not treating the paranormal with the respect that you should. I mean, they're acting like it's just a frivolous thing. That's just a commodity. And
well, anyway. I think how I'll play part in the pun devil's advocate for a moment. There's looking at all sides of the coin. I mean, two sides. I think Tony had some post put up there. Goes, Judy and I aren't getting any younger. It's expensive to maintain.
Yeah.
And we decided to let it go. Looking at options for the collection. It's not like you can just put that thing just anywhere.
Yeah.
My concern is that when you're looking at the young man who bought the house, 6 years experience in the paranormal with an alleged collection that is supposed to be like, this doll's going to kill you.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was sort of like, I don't know, maybe should that have been factored in? I don't know. And I think they had big plans like Airbnb, overnight investigations, which
Yeah.
most people knew, like the town of Monroe, city of Monroe is not going to go for that. And they
Hmm.
didn't. They
Hmm.
didn't.
So you
So,
have that, and then by the same token, you have the Hindsdale House in Western Pennsylvania, which is now you pay. I think it's $350 to go there and spend the night there. Now this
mm,
was one that Father Trabold, who was the hero of the Smurl Haunting, he
mhm,
performed 4 exorcisms to cleanse the house. He couldn't do it at the Hindsdale House, the Dandy House there in Western New York. He tried, but he couldn't get the job done, and this was
mm.
a major defeat. He was really demoralized over that, and but yeah, here's another place that is being opened up as a commercial endeavor, even though from all the research I've seen, this is a pretty nasty place. So, I mean,
Mhm.
how do you? Okay, being devil's advocate, your response to that?
Well, I knew of the Hinsdale House long before Daniel purchased it because I had a friend who knew the original owner and who basically just lived down the road from it. So I had a lot of insight into it. I also, I've never, spoken to Daniel. I don't really know him at all,
Hmm.
but through my friend and such, he's responsible. He's well seasoned researcher,
Right.
and
Sure. Sure.
yeah, and I mean, people pay to go stay in places, but you know, you have to realize what you're getting. It really is something along the lines of, careful what you wish for, because this might be the place where you get it, and you're
Yeah.
going in and taking and assuming all of that risk.
Hmm.
But again, you have people who go in and everybody thinks that they can, not everybody, many people go in there like cowboys thinking we're going to be the one to antagonize, or we're going to be the one to beat the devil sort of deal. But with
Yeah.
that being said, these things do attach.
Hmm.
So it's a
I
great risk.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think it reminds me of the psychological thing, with counseling, that the greatest determinant of or predictor of success with a therapeutic interaction if there's mutual respect and and belief with the parties. So if you go into that house, that alleged haunted house, with this real deep belief that you're going to find something, that something's there, as opposed to just having a cavalier attitude that this is just going to be a little lark and little some frights. I mean, if you're bringing that intention, it's almost like asking the putting your intentions out there into the universe. I mean, I think that could be manifested, that could be realized. So again, like what you said, be careful of what you ask for. You might just get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's 100%, 100%. Most people think that you're going to go in the life of, paranormal investigating is not what people think. It doesn't happen often unless you have a good rapport with the spirit beings, or the house itself, the location itself. You can go in there for the first time. Let's say you're dealing with a family of spirits. Let's say they don't realize they're dead. You're a stranger to them. You're in their space. You better build trust. They have to know they can trust you. And then I find I've gotten the best stuff by putting recorders down in different rooms, having a conversation with the homeowners, and then they've got something to say. I've got crazy EVPs just from communicating with a family who they trust, building a rapport. And I seldomly, I mean, the more times I would go back to a location if I was representing a location, all of a sudden it's almost like, oh, hey, you're here. All kinds of
Hmm.
things will start happening. But
Hmm.
the first couple of times, You may as well just bring a coffee, just sit back and just wait because it's not going to be all of this glory like you see on television. People are
Yeah.
just kind of like, well, this is boring. Yes,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. People I talk to, they say it's boring and you need to have patience. You
Yeah.
have to be ready. You have to, so.
It's all about your vibe and your energy as well. I mean, I'm very kind, on an average when I go in, but I don't deal with a lot of just benign locations because that's not
Mhm.
where my area of study or research was.
Mhm.
People I helped were usually more malevolent situations.
Right.
And, it's a lot different of a situation. But if I did, because I was often asked just to come in and just represent a location, for different reasons, different venues, and you get a good rapport going. And when you get welcomed with open arms, it is quite an incredible feeling. Once
Oh,
when that trust has been reached,
yeah. I can
you know,
imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And sometimes some spirits are just brazen. I was at one location, and I mean, I'm laying in bed, waking up in the morning, and all of a sudden, I feel like this finger going almost from my cleavage going up my neck like this and into my hairline.
Yeah.
And it turned out the man of the house had a fancy for women. And so I'm like, okay, I get that now. So sometimes they don't really care, but it doesn't always happen that quick.
Yeah. Do you see any similarities between ghost hunters and people that go out looking for Sasquatch? I mean, just out there waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah, I think everything is connected, but I think everything is about frequency, vibration. I mean, you go in there, especially if you're looking, like you talk to like Ron Moorhead, for example.
Mhm.
He and Daryl Denton have a show on the three of us on Monday nights here, and Ron is known for a book called Quantum Bigfoot and the Sierra Sounds, which are incredible. It's just a language. Bigfoot has a language, and he says no. They read you. They read you, they know what kind of a person you're going to be, they know if you're going to be trustworthy or not. And of course, spirits are the same because, they're now in that spirit form, that energy form. Everything is connected, but it's very incredible to see how it all works.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yes,
So,
people go looking for Bigfoot, don't always find it. And sometimes they wish they hadn't.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So the Smurl Haunting was published by Anxiety Press. And
Yeah.
then this picture that they use on the front cover, that was a picture I took of Ed and Lorraine in 1988.
Yes.
And I have a bunch of their pictures in there. But like I said, I would call Ed up and ask him how he battled the demons. And
Mm.
Lorraine had Einstein, the rooster. She had a pet rooster in her house, and they were just nice people. They were very unassuming. They weren't pretentious. They didn't cop any attitude. And you can tell that when you talk to somebody and it's just one on one. There's no attitudes. There's no, elitism. There's no, gee, am I saying the right thing? I mean, they just were very folksy and just nice people. So I mean, but they were at the top of the ladder, with the demonology. I mean, they were the ambassadors and pioneers. They were the ones that introduced that, especially to colleges, around the time when we had Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist and The Omen and all these other things, and there seemed to be an international appetite for things of the demonic. Yes, maybe we were afraid, but yes, we wanted to know more. And so we started to get that in the late 60s and then in the 70s and 70s. I mean, all hell broke loose with everything. I mean,
The
uh,
Exorcist was a game changer.
yeah, it really was. And then,
Yeah.
and then was it true? And then maybe it was based on a kid that had Tourette's syndrome and all that stuff, and being from northeastern Pennsylvania and what's his name, the father, I'm blocking the priest who was conflicted with his mother, and they say that demons know your innermost secrets. So in this father, and if I don't remember, you will, but the demon mentioned that to him, and
Mm.
Jason Miller was from Scranton, Pennsylvania. He was a playwright, and he played Father Karras, I believe it was. And so there was something about him and his mother, and Faith, and the demon was able to spot that. And they claim, I mean, people that exorcists claim that there's certain elements that are common with these demonic possessions. Like, for example, the person possessed seems to have superhuman strength. They speak in different languages that they shouldn't know, like ancient Aramaic. They may levitate. They know the deep secrets. Their room may become very cold. Just a lot of weird things that that are commonplace. They're common denominators. So
Yeah, I have a video that was sent to me from a family in Ohio with a demon speaking in Aramaic.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
It's bone shattering. Let me tell you what. It's bone shattering. Yeah. You just listen to it and you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
It means business. Yeah. It's very aggressive. Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Oh, I know what it is, but it's exactly like you would, you explain it, speaking in Aramaic and such. It is an ancient language.
Oh.
So when you hear that, it's not always in English.
Yeah. This isn't the same thing, and it's totally off the subject, but my one book, my rock biography, Somebody Else's Dream, was reviewed in Slovenia in a magazine called It's Psychedelic Baby.
Nice.
I know.
Woohoo! Yeah.
So, anyway.
Doesn't matter where it gets reviewed. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
So anyway. But you're right. And then with the movies, with the Warrens, and then with people like Ozzy Osbourne and heavy metal. I mean, so we had the lyrics to that, so you could dance to the lyrics of demonology and all this stuff, and so I mean, it became more commonplace. We became more conditioned to it. We weren't as afraid. So I think some people, but even today, I know people that refuse to read books about the paranormal. I know people that, even though they're into the paranormal, they're very much cautious about dabbling in any way with the demonic. I mean, they're very cautious, and there's something, it seems to be something very personal there. But I've heard this. I mean, this is not uncommon for people to say that. So I mean, there's a great fear. And I do have a friend who's a born again Christian, very outspoken, and he warns me all the time. He goes, "Don't get too close to the flame." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm not dancing with the devil. I mean, I think I'm on solid ground. I mean, I guess if you make a pact with the devil, you're asking for riches and fame and women and orgies and everything else. The drugs. I'm good. I don't think the devil has anything for me. So I'm not. When you talk to people that do the ghost huntings, they seem to be well grounded in their spiritual foundation. And with their saints, with their St. Michael's, the Archangel prayer, and all that. So I think that if you go into these places, maybe filled with God's grace, or maybe filled with your higher powers, energies, I think that's the way to go. I don't think you should just go in there without anything. I think that this should be thought out, because there's always that possibility that, of temptation, infestation, obsession, possession, so just be careful. And for the folks out there listening to you, I mean, that's just makes sense. It's good, it's good advice. Just be careful what you're doing. I mean, that's like anything else. And it could even be, going to these places with asbestos, or with like broken floorboards, or or rabid bats, or whatever. I mean, just be careful. I mean, there's, you want to be safe in these places.
I mean, you have to remember with looking at the demonic, or the spirit realm in general. I mean, this isn't something new to our time. There are ancient cultures who nailed down ancient. They all have different ancient ways. Even in exorcism, You
Hmm.
know, you can get places like Mesopotamia,
Yeah.
China,
Hmm.
Babylon, the
Right.
Hindu ways, the Persian ways. I mean, the list goes on. This isn't something that's new. You know, some people will say, well, everything, you know, with the balance of heaven and hell, that it's within us, it's within our mindset, you know, but I don't know, you know, ancient cultures didn't necessarily look at it that way. You know, or we're influenced from outside sources. That's what alters, you know, our way of thinking. I can tell you, working with many, many people, like hundreds and hundreds of people over the decades, that one, if I could flip the mindset switch to put them back in control, I've been able to do that with people, and I've never stepped foot in their house where they
Well,
solve their own problem.
well, okay.
And remember, these are the only type of cases that I would work.
Hmm.
You just we don't realize how powerful we are as people, that we can take control,
Hmm.
you know. So
Yeah. I
don't go
in.
looking for trouble. Demand and I demand you do this. It's like, who are
Uh-huh.
you again?
Hmm. Hmm.
Right?
No, I think we have innate abilities, but I think that with some of
Yeah.
us, they sort of manifest more naturally. You know, the rest of us have to work harder at it, and for
Mm,
some of us, I mean, you really have to work overtime just to do that. It's whether you do it through prayer, meditation,
mm-hmm,
you know, asking the universe, whatever. But it's you
mm-hmm.
know, it's difficult because of all the white noise and the commerciality of the world and the
Mm-hmm.
9 to 5 and everything else. I mean, it's hard to get into that
Yeah.
place where you could access that those energies, and you know, so and you know,
It's difficult. I mean, you know, anything that I've read, like I've not seen the Conjuring films. Like I don't really watch them. Like the Smurl family went through a lot of stuff, like right down to even, um, you know, like succubus incubus
yeah, yeah,
attacks as
right,
well. I mean, that's beyond poltergeist activity. It's just, you know, demonic shaking stuff up, and you
yeah.
know, I mean,
With them,
aggression on a different level. You know,
it was personal, and
yeah.
I believe it was because they were devout Catholics, they were Christians, and I just think that the devil scores more points bringing down somebody who's devoted their lives to God, to the Bible, to whatever. I mean, so you know, and they were
You might
churchgoer.
be right with that. You know, I once did some research and found somebody had did a study on that. People from different faith backgrounds,
Uh-huh.
and they basically said Christians and Catholics are the ones that have been attacked and centered out the most, which is probably why they have like this huge exorcism
Uh-huh.
center. I mean, the Catholics got it down for sure, but I think you hit the nail on the head with that, because we are, you know,
Yeah.
when this
I
study was done, he interviewed tons of people, and that was what the consensus was.
and the only reason the Catholics have sort of usurped that and have the monopoly is just that Protestants gave up on that in the 1600s. They
Mhm.
believe that the way to do this is just go directly to God, go directly to Jesus Christ, and deal
Mm.
with them. You know, we
Yeah.
talk about intermediaries. You know, we talk about the you know the priests that act as exorcists, and but all of this
Yeah.
comes down from Christ. You know, Christ. Uh, One of his first miracles was casting out of the demons. And he was the one who taught his apostles that you too could cast out demons if you do it in my name and in my spirit. And that's exactly what
Mm,
they do today. So
mm,
it's the same thing. You know, you don't cast out the demon, but the
mhm,
power of God comes through
mhm.
you, and all things through God. So that's
I
so
have a
the
I have a
mechanism for
question.
how it works.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Hello, Healer Angel. Can I ask why there is a need for ghost haunting? Is it bad enough that witches or spells opening new doors, causing mayhem in our dimension and closing portals that are opened? What are our children going to be faced with that are not educated yet? I saw the movie The Right. Wow, most scary. It was. That was a
Uh,
scary movie.
uh, well,
Aw, thank you.
thank you, healer. Well, first of all, I saw the Conjuring. I saw a lot of them several times, and Conjuring Last Rites. I didn't think. I mean, it was fun. I enjoy them. You know, I like Ed and Lorraine,
Yeah.
but Ed Harris and that, and but I didn't think it was scary, but
Yeah.
why do people do that? Well, why do people, look for Bigfoot? Why do we seek the paranormal? And it's what human beings do. We have this curiosity and this fascination. So we do that because that's who we are. That's how we represent our humanness. The other thing, we do this to conquer our fear. A lot of these things, I mean, they're very terrifying, but by being actively involved in the search for them, with a curiosity, we look at the monster under the bed, or we look for the spirit, inside the closet door. And by doing that, we can conquer our fear by being actively involved. Certainly with the motion pictures, there's that vicarious thrill that you could, be scared, but you're in a safe place. And then even with the dark tourism, people do that for the thrill. Like, I mean, they want to experience, like maybe going to Lizzie Borden's house, which was infamous for the bloodletting and everything. So they go to this place that may or may not have those energies still there, but they get a vicarious thrill from being there. And so that's part of it. I mean, why people do that.
Thrill seeking.
But
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
there's always that possibility of, and it starts with the temptation. And if people are, a certain group of vulnerable people, for example, children, mentally ill, addicted people, I believe Christians or Muslims, maybe even Jews, I don't know, but we miss the point when we talk about Catholicism. And here's another thing too. We talk about the Judeo-Christian tradition, and I think we get that all wrong. It's the Judeo-Christian Islamic tradition. You need those three because both Christianity and Islam borrowed heavily from Judeo, the Judeo tradition, and we rarely talk about that. Even in Islam, they have the jinn. They have their spirits, their demons. And even in Islam, they have the end times. They have their apocalypse that's coming, that as we will have the second coming of Christ, they will have the coming of Allah, and they will have to atone for their sins with Allah. So there's similarities between that. And one other thing, which is amazing, I just want to throw this out, being that, if this is true, that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are so together and pretty much, very closely related in so many ways, isn't it amazing that there's so much anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim rhetoric and sentiment out there when we're all pretty much the same,
I always like to say, to eliminate division is like we're just human beings.
Yeah.
It's pretty much we're all human beings having this, we're all sharing this little ball that just floats around, or flat with a firmament, whichever way you want to go. But it is the way it is. Like we are. I mean, we're all in this together. So I think at some point, we have to sort of get it right. But I do agree when you're looking at so many different belief systems, which clash, because some people will say, it is conditioning. A lot of it is conditioning, but then there are a lot that some of these traditions and these faiths are considerably older. They've been around for a really, really long time. So sometimes that does tend to add to these hauntings. And one example that I use is, I had once worked with a family, and she was Christian and he was Muslim.
Okay.
So he brought his family in, and it's like, okay, you know what? This is our thoughts on it. And I had to consult with both sides and they agreed how they wanted to proceed. And that's how we proceeded. I would like to just touch on the one question, though, from Healer Angel, which is, why is there need, for ghost hunting, I guess. Spirits are here for many different reasons. It's not necessarily, always a deliberate thing. Sometimes they remain behind because sudden death, they don't know, that they're even gone. Car accidents, maybe a murder, like they have no idea. No preparation, unfinished business, attached to an item, a person, or a location. And the one I like to use as an example is a farm. Back in the day, oh, if you had no money, but you were land wealthy. Your land sustained you. Chances are you were born on the land, your crops on the land, you had your herds, you had the wood, that heated your house, you had the animals that gave you lard for your wax. I mean, it's just it was a survival thing. You
Sure.
died on your land, you were buried on your land, you were not giving up your land. I cannot tell you how many properties who went on to be large surveys, and people are like, what is going on? This is a brand new house that used to be on a farm.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes you can convince the spirit, no, move on. Other times you're like, no, we have no intention of moving on. So you have to find a happy medium for the spirit and the family. And many times it's just explaining to the spirit, they love your house. They're not ruining it. They're just trying to update it. It's falling apart, making it better. And the spirit says, well, these kids bother me. I like to be in this room, every day at this time.
Yeah.
So what's the compromise is, okay, can we just leave Fred here to be alone in his room for an hour, keep everybody out of it, and Fred's in agreement. And spirits have, in some cases, gone on to protect the family,
Wow.
being like instant burglar alarms. Like families have been woken up because a fire has taken place, and the spirits are the ones that have woken them. Like
Yeah.
you can't coexist. You can.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I love
We
happy endings.
rarely hear that side of it. I mean, we hear about therapy. That maybe ghost hunters go in there and they want to go and talk to the spirits and help them and show them the way and help them to be less confused and all that. But it's nice to hear about their energies coming the other way and helping us. So that's something
It
that's
happens. I've seen it happen many times. So there is, good stories. People automatically assume that, no, we have to move them on. It's not our path.
yeah.
You can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink, right? It's a
Right.
matter of you can say, hey, you can go anytime. I've had spirits just leave and say, you can come back and forth as much as you want. Just because you leave now doesn't mean you
Yeah.
can't come back, but you come back with all the baggage that holds you here. Then it's just like, oh, I had a murdered woman who basically led us all to her killer. And she had schizophrenia, because we were just kind of, oh my God, mediums were just like, what's going on? The background noise, as you call it. And we were able to convince her to move on. He said, you could come right back, literally within about 2 hours. Spirit was back, helped finish solve her murder, and then was gone.
Amazing stuff. Yeah. In the Smurl Haunting, there was none of that. There was no benevolent activity. There was just like all the typical haunted house things. The smells, the knocks, the rooms getting very cold, profanities etched in mirrors, and just a lot of that. And then it got more intense. It started slow and it got very intense. There was a lull where there was nothing happening, and then it became full blown. But throughout that whole course, the Schmerls were bringing in Catholic priests to sit there to babysit, to spend the night, to do a blessing, to do an exorcist, and they had a number of people that performed exorcisms, but nobody was able to get it right. So finally, Father Trabold came from New York State, and it took him 4 times to do it to be successful. But by the same token, he tried to do the same thing with the Hindsdale House and wasn't able to do anything. So he said that with the Hindsdale House, some places are just a road to a hole to hell, and just leave, just take your things and leave, and don't tell anybody where you're going. So that was the final say with the Hindsdale House.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe there was more than just one demon. Maybe there were a bunch of demons that he was fighting, and he didn't have enough power to do that. I don't know. I'm not sure.
There's many reasons, you know. I mean, it's very seldom that you're ever going to get just one.
Hmm.
And hence the term legion, right? Usually
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
always
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
once. It's like
Yeah.
a party. And if
Yeah.
you don't do it right, it's like you're leaving a foot in the door. But there's a lot of times as well where people they you have to do a lifestyle change. You have to think about what put the bullseye on your back in the first place
Hmm.
to bring them in. Or, you know, were you just unlucky, wrong place, wrong time? Were you, you know, did you make an invitation as a kid, forgot about it because nothing happened? They're not bound by time or space. They'll wait
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
out and be there
Yeah.
40 years later.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Like, well, when
Yeah.
I was 10, I played with a Ouija board. It's like, how old are you now? I'm 63. Okay. How is that, you know, how is that working? So there's different reasons why they come into your life. Once you establish that reason, you know, you have to sometimes just get into a different routine to make sure that you, because I say once you're marked, I always say once you're marked, you're always marked. If you were an easy mark at some point, there's
Yeah.
always going to be someone trying to get their foot in the door thinking you're still going to be that easy mark. So it's a
Hmm.
matter of due diligence and lifestyle change, really positive energy, positive vibes, and
Hmm.
just live a positive, you know, the glass is half full, not half empty, or there is no glass.
Hmm.
You know, like you can't
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like it is a lifestyle change of sorts.
Yeah. Lorraine always thought that there were four uh, spirits there in the Smurl house. She
Mm.
said there was a succubus that was in charge, the demon, and the succubus manipulated the other three spirits into just doing all this wicked stuff, you know, the crazy stuff. So,
Mm.
you know, that was her conclusion,
Mm.
and so
Humans do that. I've got EVPs of spirit people telling me, you know, hide, hide, he's coming, he's coming. And we knew there was an entity in the house, and they basically they can it's not hard for them to rule the spirits in there because they're considerably stronger, and they
yeah.
draw the energy from those spirits that keep them, you know, allegedly, you know, as it goes, they
Hmm.
just keep them very weak.
Hmm. Hmm.
So they hide or they, you know, they they obey.
Yeah, that would be an interesting premise for a book. I mean, how that works, you know, that whole mechanism. But
Oh, it's a hierarchy for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
It really is. Sometimes your spirits are just as victimized as the living.
Yes. So we had I'm wondering if that question was sufficiently answered. I mean, why do people do that, knowing that you know bad things could happen? I mean,
Mm,
it's a great question, and
yeah.
sometimes bad things do happen. But I think you know that with what's happening now, with just the whole man plethora of Bigfoot hunters and the ghost hunters, and you know, I mean, there just seems to be you know so much happening there. I mean, just it's you
Mm,
know it's a current thing, even though it's old. And with the dark tourism, I forget the numbers, but I mean, Gen uh, the millennials and Generation Z would much rather go to Alcatraz or, say, Lizzie Borden's house than to go see the Liberty Bell or Niagara Falls. They'd rather see something that you know represents something ominous and for foreboding and something where
mm.
maybe something nasty happened before. So that seems to be the you know what's happening. And again,
I
it's
would
a
only stay in haunted places whenever possible.
yeah. You say you would, right?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, yeah, right, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I did.
yeah.
I, you know, I would go out of my way to make sure I could stay in haunted locations. I mean, I've had activity at my last two homes, you know, and I mean this one seems quiet, thankfully. I'll say my last three, you know, because I grew up in a
Mhm.
house like that. But I think, you know, I stay in places that are old as possible. Haunted is a bonus, and I do seek out the old haunted castles. Like I travel around the world. I go to places that are,
Yeah.
but here's a misconception is sometimes people go to places, they see something like an abandoned place. Oh, it's haunted. No, no, they're
Mhm.
not always haunted because their abandoned cemeteries aren't always haunted.
Right.
You know, I think
And I understand that
it's
a house
stigmatized.
that a house doesn't have to be old to be haunted either.
100% not. No, I've seen many different situations. Again, haunted land, or you just pick up a hitchhiker, or somebody, you meet somebody. Some, you could have like an ad on in the paper, it's on the paper online, and somebody comes and picks something up, and then they've got a tag along, and they look at you and going, "Oh, this looks a lot more interesting," because they can read you.
Hmm.
And next thing you know, you've got a problem. It can't happen that quick. These
Yeah.
these entities can infect more than one location at the same time. I know because I've worked cases where that has been a thing.
Hmm. And as you indicated before, they could these spirits, these demons could be manifested through things like Ouija boards and seances and tarot cards and all that. So
How
that could
about
open.
Ghostbox? How about different apps? How about voice recorders? The idea here is you're asking, you're making an invitation. That's the key. A Ouija
Mhm.
board, is people will say, "Oh, it gets a bad rap." I've done research on it. I've participated in articles written about it. Again, it's a board, it's a thing, but it's used to invoke communication, which essentially is an invitation to come out and communicate. You do that with a voice recorder. You can do that with a ghost box. You could do that with anything. If you are initiating contact at any point, you you are essentially making an invite. "Hey, I want to talk to you. Is there anybody here?" "Oh, here we are." It doesn't take much. And
Yeah.
children tend to be the most vulnerable because, with some of these things, because they're very innocent. So they're easy to trick because you come in as a little kid, right?
Mhm.
And they can mimic voices, they
Yeah.
can mimic appearance, they can be, "Hey, look, I'm your buddy."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I once had a little boy say, he goes, "No, he was a dinosaur, but then he was a snake right after." I'm like, "Oh."
Mhm.
Like, listen to the kids. They can be the teller of tall tales, but they will tell
Yeah.
it like
Yeah.
it is as well.
They had a case of that in the Amityville Horror where the child
Yeah,
was talking to, I think, a little pig. I don't know, but that was Stephen King Shining jumped on that and wrote about that.
yeah. This is true. I say this all the time. I'm
Yeah.
ridiculous with it.
Okay.
Any form of communication is an invitation when it comes to the spirit
Yeah.
realm,
Okay.
you know?
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yes. Yes. But no, it's true. I think Amityville was another game changer, um, when that came out, and, Ed and Lorraine were involved on that, and Laura DiDio, who has been on this show several times talking about not just, the Lutzes, but the DeFeos as well, extensively
Yeah.
as to some of the things that were going on, and it shows you just how easy it was for all of this to unfold. And you see, it's like it's what do they say? Like a tale as old as time. The same thing just keeps happening. It's just like a cycle. You can almost predict how things are going to happen,
Hmm.
in some cases.
Yeah. With the Amityville Horror, I think that we had a hard time letting that go. I mean, there's been
It's
so
been
many
52 years now, I think, or 51 years. It's
so
still
many
going.
books written about it, so many motion pictures. We can't let it go, and it's almost like a modern day Cain and Abel.
Mm,
It's hard to believe that a kid, this 23-year-old Butch DeFeo, Ronnie DeFeo Jr.,
mm.
would kill his mother, fathers, his two sisters, and his two brothers. I mean,
And nobody
we,
heard a thing.
yeah, yeah. So there was that. He was a well-to-do kid. He drove a new car. He had thousands of dollars in his pocket. He, did
Mm,
heroin and meth. He was
mm.
prescribed Thorazine. I mean, he was a
Well,
mess.
you're an
And
addict. Makes you a target, doesn't it?
yeah, and the other thing too, they tried to. He said that his defense was that he was possessed by a demon, and in the book High Hopes, the prosecution had to prove that Ronnie DeFeo wasn't possessed by a demon, but that he was a sociopath and he needed instant gratification and he had no remorse or empathy for anybody. So that's what they had to prove. And it would have been, it's amazing. I mean, it would have been interesting if they would have found him innocent because of demonic possession. Uh, you know.
Oh, and then you go to a place like prison, which is notorious for having these sort of entities, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
didn't have one before, chances are
Yeah.
you get one
Yeah.
after the
Yeah.
fact,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
And
yeah.
with Amityville, I mean, it was such a moneymaker, such a cottage industry that even I think a lot of people, the last thing they remember was, I think Jay Anson wrote the book, but I think the last thing that people remember was that George and Kathy Lutz's attorney claimed that he made this all up over a couple of bottles of wine. And I think he wrote a book about it. And that in itself was marketable. And I think that's the last thing that people remember, that that it was a hoax. But I just think that that's just so wrong, and I don't buy that at all.
I remember having, messenger chats with Christopher, one
Hmm.
of the boys, and you know, he basically had a lot of things to say about that, and
Hmm.
I think eventually he will write a book about it. And it was very, very interesting. He dropped off social media for personal reasons, but I said, "You write
But
that
did he
book,
say it
you
was?
come to my show."
Did he say it was a hoax or was it authentic?
No, there were different things, and he didn't deny that things had happened, but
Yeah.
there was a lot more to it than that. And when he had explained it to me, as it's not my story to tell, so I won't do that. Um, but when you start piecing everything together, it's pretty. It's a deep rabbit hole,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
even from the George standpoint, like beyond the DeFeos.
Uh-huh.
Something happened in that house beforehand, and it's a matter of what went on with it. I know that when Laura DiDio was on, she was, the reporter that came in with George Lutz. She was presence for the seance. She basically broke the story for uh, her news network. And, she basically had her own experiences
Ah.
being alone in that house. And she, even with the owner after that, she had her experience. And when she asked the priest, who had the experience with being told to get out of the house,
Hmm.
he said, yes, that did happen.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Well, the Lutzes bought the house for $80,000. It was a
yeah,
mansion in Long Island. That was,
yeah.
very affluent part, and they only
It,
stuck around for 28 days.
yeah.
28 days. So
Well, you had the beds that the murders happened in. They had to clean. There were still things that needed to be cleaned when they moved in there. I
yeah,
mean, you have the furniture. How is that even good for mental health? Your own mental
yeah,
health,
yeah,
like, I mean, it
yeah,
all plays on you is what I'm saying,
yeah. Sure, yeah.
you
Well,
know?
like the Annabelle doll and Dan
Mhm.
Rivera. I mean, he was a handler. So I don't know.
Mm.
But we don't know. I mean, we all we can do is guess and conjecture and look at theories and try to see which one makes the most sense. And even with the spirit world, I mean, like we were talking about, so many cultures believe in the afterlife.
Mhm.
And our question is, I mean, what is that like? I mean, can we make contact and can they make contact? I mean, that's the real crux of this thing. And a lot of people think that, yes, we can. So there's a lot of energy there. I don't think I ever thought about the concept of the spirits helping us, reaching out and helping us and being like the alarm clock or the,
It
uh,
happens.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, I'm
Yeah,
just, yeah, I
yeah.
can,
I
yeah.
had a woman, they had, a break-in, or somebody tried to break into the house, and basically something came out and hit the other side of the door handle, and the door handle went flying off. They couldn't, there was nothing left to turn, and it was locked from inside.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
I saw that house, though, do incredible things.
Mhm.
So, I had some of the best recordings I've ever captured came out of that house.
Yeah.
So nothing surprises me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
spirit world, it's we're literally, like, some people say, "Oh, the veil is thinning." There's a really strong belief that there is no veil. Like, we're really right there,
Hmm. Oh, that's
and
good.
things amp up.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
why do things amp up? So what if I say to you, why do you think things are amping up right now? What would you say? Because you've been doing a lot of research for this book. So what would be your opinion?
Okay. Um, the world's been turned sort of upside down politically. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And a lot of things are happening that we just can't comprehend. A real good example is the 2024 drone attack
Mm.
over New Jersey. I mean, we talked about it. We had every single explanation for what it could be, including flying saucers and the military looking for these nuclear bombs that were
Mm.
taken out of Ukraine and placed in New Jersey. All this stuff,
Mm.
we couldn't figure it out. We live with that, if not fear, that apprehension, that uncertainty. The government was not allowed to go and or did not explain to us, was not able to articulate to us that we're safe. Don't worry about this. This is what it is. That was
Mm.
in 2024. In 2023, we had the same thing with the Chinese, big as a bus weather balloons that were coming over, these little spy things. And again, we shot a couple of them down. There was, I think, one in Canada, one in Alaska, one off the coast of maybe North Carolina. And again, there was never any closure.
Mm.
So we're living with this apprehension, this uncertainty, this thing that we don't know what's going on. I mean, we need to know. I mean, man has a need to know. I mean, that's
Mhm.
how we operate. And so here we go again. And now with this uncertainty with the politics, and again, this is the most volatile, chaotic period in that I've ever seen. I mean, maybe Vietnam and the protests were somewhat like this, but I mean, that made sense. I mean, you could wrap your arms around it, you could, make sense, but not what's happening there. So I think there's just all this uncertainty. I think we're numb. There's a lot of things going on. And so what do we do with that? Well, why not either, get right with religion and start going to church, or why not affiliate with the paranormal and
Mhm.
do that? Why not go and immerse yourself with the paranormal and just take a look at the unknown and go with, people with shared values and do that? So I think in that sense, that becomes a therapy. Anything that you could do to go and put your energies into one thing. It's known as a positive diversion or a positive distraction. So you're putting all your energies into, this thing. And why not the paranormal? I mean, what other reason would there be that there's just such an uptick in that? I mean,
Mhm.
it waxes and it wanes. I mean, we had the what was it? The I3 Atlas that came,
Three-Eye Atlas. Yeah.
3i Atlas, and okay,
Yeah.
and for a while there, some people at least thought that it was operated by aliens, and it was intelligent technology, and so we had that going, but just I just think a lot of uncertainty. We're not as grounded and as informed. I mean, with all the technology, with all the programs there, you think that we would know it all. Well, we don't. We're like little babies. So
Yeah.
again, I look at the drone attack of 2024 as a very telling thing that I remember Biden administration tried to articulate what that was, and I thought they were bunglers.
Mm.
Trump said that the government knows something and they're not telling us it was a conspiracy. Everybody added fuel to the fire. I mean, everybody was throwing stuff on it. Luis Elizondo
Yeah.
was doing,
Yeah.
everybody did it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm angry and miserable, and and keeping with that, the government UFO congressional hearings, July of 2023, November of 2024, I believe, September of 2025. What did we learn from David Grush, Luis Elizondo, and all those other people? That he knows where the non-human biologics are. He knows where the crafts are. That we know the government knows something and isn't telling us. They're not being transparent. That's it. No more. 3 major congressional hearings, millions of dollars spent. What do we know? Nothing, because they're not telling us anything. I
Mm.
mean, that makes me angry. I'm confused. I'm wondering, why do they even do this when they tell us nothing? So
I think to an experiencer, I mean, I'm an experiencer. I have been my whole life since childhood, and I think that's such a fine line between, I could give you a whole list of similarities between alien abduction and the paranormal that are almost exact. So, and I could tell you at least half the people and families I've worked with, at least half of those people were also contactees. So I can give you a whole list of
yeah,
things. I'll have
yeah,
to send you that from your book.
yeah. Please
But
do.
it,
Yeah,
but it shows the connection between everything. And we as experiencers don't need to wait for disclosure.
Hmm.
You know, we know that people have camera phones. People are taking pictures of
Hmm.
things all the time. What will make it harder is AI. And I tend to wonder, it's the timing of disclosure in AI, just so because it will get very confusing. And then you're looking at Bluebeam, Project
Yeah,
Bluebeam, which is where they're going to try to fudge you,
yeah.
and Three Eye Atlas became just an example of that. And meanwhile, it just went on by, right? So
Yeah.
it's just sign of the times. Again, I have to say sign of the times. I think things amp
But
up for the exact reasons that you say, and
yeah.
a lot of people are questioning their mortality. They've lost loved ones,
Hmm.
and they're questioning mortality more, and they're wanting to know.
Yeah. And if you're implying that this is the age of disclosure and enlightenment, I mean, I take the opposite view. I think that this is a era of confusion, and we're being bamboozled. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I mean, uh, we're not getting the intel that we need. We're not getting that respectful intelligence that I think that we should have,
Mm-hmm.
and and so maybe that's why we search for it. If you're not going to give it to me, I'll find it myself. I'll go to these places and I'll look and I'll
Yeah, I
try
mean
to make
the
contact.
internet is a pretty good thing for that. It takes
Mhm.
people who can never leave their living rooms, for example. They can get a glimpse into the world of ghost adventures,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
ghost hunters, or
yeah.
they can get an idea what it's like. They can go on local ghost tours or go to local events. It's a great way to start. I think the interest is there because it's more widely accepted to be able to talk about it now. God,
Mhm.
I was growing up, my mother would be just like, "Oh, you don't want to talk about that? People think we're crazy." We
Yeah.
are. It's okay. I don't
Yeah,
mind being crazy.
yeah, yeah,
I'm a wild woman. I'm meanwhile
yeah.
14. I can do this. Like it's now it's more acceptable to talk about, and people
Mhm,
are coming up with their experiences. They're sharing it online. They
mhm,
have camera phones with, phones, or with recorders, or with apps, or what you name it,
mhm,
video. They're capturing some of this stuff in real time. And I think you're starting to say, okay, it's okay. They're watching all these shows and they're
mhm,
thinking, I can tell my story. I'm comfortable in telling my story now.
mhm,
Like now you're writing this book, you can reach out to people and they'll say, oh yeah, what do you want to know? Well,
mhm.
30 years ago, try writing that book. It might have been a different story.
Right, yeah, you're right. That part is
Yeah.
easier today, and you're able to get a whole lot of ideas, and as it should be, So,
Mhm.
yeah, well, that's good. That's good. You have some wise things to say there, and you have the
I try every
experience.
now and then. Every now and then I come out with a good one. I don't know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And
But I love jamming with you about it because it's great to have a like minded
yeah, yeah,
conversation.
and in the Smurl haunting, what I wanted to just say for your listeners, of course, if they have any interest in that, what I do is I take a look at the Smurl haunting as sort of the epicenter, and then I compare and contrast that with Amityville, the Hindsdale House, the Damned Wells House, and a bunch of those other things. I look at the commonalities with haunted houses, what you could, what those things experienced, claim that the Smurl House was a lot more violent and a lot more personal. And it's almost like on some of these murder shows, like if somebody is stabbed, 45 times in the genitalia, they know immediately that it's something personal.
Yeah.
And so the same thing, I think, with the Schmerls, I think that this was it was of a personal nature with the being raped by a
Mm.
female demon, a succubus, and amazing that Ed would tell the world that. I mean, us guys like to, maintain our manliness and our macho image and all that. I mean, that was really pretty courageous of him to say that. And
Hmm.
also,
Yes.
you got to ask. I mean, I think it was so authentic because why would this family of church-going Catholics make something like that up? Why would he uh, defy or desecrate his church, his family, his reputation? I mean, West Pittston is a small town. I don't think that he would do that. I think that what happened did happen. Um, and then going further in the book, I talk about the the rite of exorcism. I talk about Father Amorth, who was the Vatican's
Yes.
exorcist, and he did
Yes.
thousands of exorcisms. But he talked about the 2%. And in my book, I have a chapter called The 2%. Father Amorth said that only 2% of the cases that they deal with are actually demonic possession. All the others are misguided. They're examples of mental illness, either schizophrenia or Tourette syndrome or bipolar or whatever other name that would be. But
Mm.
they have to determine whether or not the person is actually uh, you know possessed by a demon. And
There's
there was
there's a very big fine line. You look at a person going through psychosis, and you would think that that's exactly what is happening to them.
Mhm.
I could see
Right.
why the Catholic Church is so stringent, why they have their own psychiatrists and
Yeah,
doctors, and
yeah.
those are hard questions to ask.
Yeah, and also they paid the price for failure with Annalise. She was a college student from Germany,
Mhm.
and
Annalise Michel?
yeah, she died from
Yes.
the
Yeah.
and there were charges. They brought up her parents and the two priests that
Mhm.
were from the exorcism, and she died. So
Mhm.
um, but
Yeah.
she was mentally ill, and just horrendous what they did to try to purge the demons out of her. But I mean, they
Mm.
killed her, and so they no longer do, I think, sanctioned, approved exorcisms in Germany. I mean, if they do
Mhm.
them, they're on the QT, they're on the down low. But
Mhm.
but that was the case.
Mhm.
And then the other thing too. I mean, there were so many prominent Catholic popes who said that yes, evil exists. Evil exists in the 20th and 21st century. It's not just an archaic thing. It's not just a folk tale to keep people in line to scare them. If you don't believe, you're going to go to hell or whatever. So it's not that. It's something that exists. And
Mhm.
with my book, I mean, I take that premise. I mean, I believe that evil exists, the devil exists, and it manifests in many different forms. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm. Well,
one,
it is interesting. I mean, I once read a quote that said, Satan doesn't bother with a worthless person. He goes after the one who struggles spiritually in order to tempt him and make him worthless.
okay, say
I,
that
I,
again. I like that. Say it again.
yeah, it says Satan doesn't bother with a worthless person. He goes after the one who struggles spiritually in order to tempt him and make him worthless.
Oh, oh, that's
Right?
good. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the
Mhm,
devil doesn't act
mhm,
contrary to a person's nature. Right?
mhm,
The idea is to make us go against,
mhm.
our friends or family. It's all about the game of divide and conquer. If they
Yeah,
isolate you,
yeah. Mhm,
then you're easier to bring to that point. Remember, the ultimate prize is energy, it's soul essence,
mhm,
right? If they cause all kinds of friction within the space, they feed off that energy. It makes them
mhm,
stronger, makes you weaker.
mhm.
That's the idea. But divide and conquer, that's why everybody's always bickering. That's why there's so much angst. That's why there's so
Oh
much
yeah.
upset.
Mhm,
But they isolate you. You're either going to, if it goes to fruition, the last stage of not even necessarily possession, but infestation is you kill yourself. And with any luck, you take someone with you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that's the ultimate is death. And that's not necessarily even going to
Mhm,
full possession.
mhm.
They influence you in many different ways. The whole devil made me do it thing. It's not a,
Yeah.
you know.
Or even look at some of our emotions like jealousy and lust and
Mhm.
rage and anger. I mean, those people have killed for those. So those emotions. I mean, it's all about
Yeah.
self control, and if you can control that, I mean, that's.
Mhm.
I think there's the temptation is always there. I mean, no matter who you are and what stage you're at, the temptation is always there around you someplace.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
nobody knows what you're doing in the confines of your house when nobody's looking, when nobody's watching. So I mean, that's the real mark of your character and what you do. So
Mm.
but when I talked to Ed and Lorraine, when I talked to Dan Rivera, they just were espousing, Christianity, the mantra that the devil is strong, but the strength of God is greater. Padre Pio has a place in Pennsylvania, a monastery, and there was a sign there. He said that although the power of the devil is mighty, I go to the Blessed Mother for my strength. And even Ed said that to do demonic battle, he would go to Jesus Christ. He would go to St. Michael the Archangel. He would go to Padre Pio. So with the Catholics, they all have their little their league of their Justice League of America. They have their
Mhm.
Justice League of Canada. They have their
Yeah.
groups of their favorite saints, and which I think is kind of cool. Protestants don't do that. I mean, they just go directly to, I guess, to Jesus and to Father Yahweh. But
Mhm.
whatever. I mean, whatever you do is fine. Whatever you do is perfect. So you know, and
Yeah.
I'm not a theologian. I'm not I'm not any kind of a religious academic, but I consider myself sort of a Catholic slash Buddhist. I mean, I like what that is. I mean, like I practiced Buddhism for a while, and it's a very loving,
Mhm.
belief, with the karma and the reincarnation. It's good, So, that they don't talk so much about punishment and the end times and all that, but
Yeah.
with Christianity, with Islam, with Hindu, they look at the end times.
Mhm. I think the idea is, um, doing whatever it takes to give you strength, whatever empowers you, because the first thing, people do when they're in a situation like that is they tend to blame the creator, blame their faith. "Why are you doing this to me? Why are you allowing this?" I think, in situations like that, you need to find your way back,
Hmm.
wherever it is that gives you your faith, whatever brings you back
Hmm.
to empower you, to give you back the strength, to remind yourself, that you're a warrior. You don't have to
Yeah,
be the victim. You don't,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
and there's a war going on. There's spiritual warfare. So I mean, that's what
big
that
time.
temptation is all about. Yeah, yeah. So,
I
but
just
it's good.
did a show on that 2 days ago or yesterday,
Yeah,
actually.
it's good to talk the talk. It's good to talk that positivity, the fact that you have it within you to go and enter the fight and be courageous. So it's good to hear that
Mhm.
and be empowered. And your listeners need to hear that and know that even during their worst days when they're depressed, there's ways to turn that around and enjoy life. And
Mm.
I think one of the biggest joys we have as human beings is the joy of interacting with others and conversing with others and feeling good about it and feeling worthy of it and
Mm.
feeling, yes, I can talk to this Michelle DeRoche and just, I mean, it's a wonderful feeling. Again, people that are downtrodden, mentally ill, addicted to substances, uh, don't have that because they don't feel that they're worthy of that connection. And
Mm.
Brene Brown from the University of Texas said that. She talked about that. I mean, like that's one of the things that people that are disadvantaged don't have. They don't have that joy of connection. They don't feel that they're worthy of the connection. And it's nice
Mhm.
to say that yes, we do. And so that I mean,
Mhm.
uh, so
Connections are important. And, we went through a spell, and I'm not gonna get into it, on the show and get me flagged, but, we went through a spell while the whole world locked down for a while,
uh,
and 2 things of that, people, you know, the consciousness, the connections, disappeared, the connections, but what
mhm,
it did do, I got so many messages from people who, because they had to be home all the time, were like, "I
mhm.
think my house is haunted,"
Yeah,
because they never paid any attention to it before. Because
yeah,
you
yeah,
get busy, right? Get up, go to work,
yeah.
take the kids to school, come back, make dinner, do homework, go to soccer, come back, go to bed, repeat, repeat, repeat.
Hmm.
And meanwhile, they were like, there's stuff going on in my house. I
Hmm.
didn't know it was there. And I had people messaging me saying, this is a thing. I was like, wow. So people were noticing more.
Hmm.
Isn't that crazy?
Interesting. Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was awesome. But yeah, I mean, I think that we can manifest a lot of stuff if our mind isn't right. We can manifest things. We can. I've worked with many people who thought they had something going on, and meanwhile, it was like full on psychokinesis. And you got to be delicate, I would just send
Oh,
them links and say, "If this resonates with you, just let me know."
mhm.
And once you come to the realization that it's self-projection, like creating like poltergeist activity, essentially, it's sort of like, okay, yeah, that was me.
Uh-huh.
And they realize it, and then all activity stops because it can mimic, opening doors, footsteps,
Mhm.
uh, cupboard doors slamming, closing. That's
Mhm.
why they always say, like, young girls or kids, but girls primarily going through puberty or
Right.
women going through menopause because the emotional energy that comes on during that transition
Mhm.
will make you psychokinesis and project energy all over the place where you think you've got a serious thing going on.
Yeah, yeah. And that was one of the theories with Dawn Schmerl. She was 19, and supposedly the German Shepherd Simon was levitated and flung across the room.
Oh.
And the theory, one theory was that was the psychokinetic kinetic energies
Yeah.
that she wasn't able to control, and that's what happened to Simon. So,
Well,
um,
sure. Fear can do that to you too if they're going through other
mhm,
things. And I'm glad you brought up the dog because animals can't speak for themselves and many times have become the victim of attachments, a
mhm,
place for something to grab onto and hide because there's no way they can tell you.
yeah,
I've encountered that quite a few times.
but
So,
a lot of strange things, a lot of weird stuff out there.
yeah, absolutely. This is something that people have to factor in, in doing spirit research, ghost hunting, whatever term you want to use, is that sometimes it's just it's hard to think about everything. We always miss things. There's nothing we're not perfect. You just try to go in based on the information you're given and try to give as good of an assessment as you can. The type of cases I would work, I used to have to ask for psychological or psychiatric assessments if they were dealing, especially if they were dealing, like if they were Catholic faith. Say they're
Hmm.
going to ask for this and get me too. Then I need permission from your practitioner to work with you in writing. Right?
Wow. Okay.
I
Yeah.
need to know because I'm
Yeah.
not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not, I'm just here to listen, try to assess. And I've done interviews with psychologists who have just basically said whatever it takes to make the person feel better as long as they don't go off the medication.
Hmm.
So, and that was that, right? But there are things you need to think about. People don't think about animals. Some do. Some and this is, some people get really ornery about this, but there are some researchers who will bring dogs, to investigations. Like an animal will be able to sniff that out, no problem. But other, people have said, well, then the animal can get into trouble. How are they going to tell you? Or you may get attached to the animal, or you're putting
Hmm.
the animal in harm's way. You may as well be bringing a kid. Like I've heard so many different things. It's just, you
Is that
know,
commonplace to bring dogs into when they're looking for the spirits? You
some
heard?
researchers have done it. Yeah, some researchers have done it, and
Mhm.
others just are totally against it. Because they just look at them with this innocent animal.
Yeah.
Don't
Uh-huh.
put them in that situation
Yeah.
if it's a malevolent type of. But even a spirit that doesn't want to be seen could react
Hmm.
inadvertently towards an animal. So I don't know. Like you don't always get it right. You do your best,
Yeah.
and or you should do your best. And you have people that come in there and say, "Well, you're lucky we're here," and start challenging. You have to remember something. When we go into someone's home, if you start challenging or start saying, "Look, you want to communicate with something," then you go home. So if you're challenging and you're just peeving something off, you go home, you leave the family. Then the family has to deal with it. The family doesn't want to communicate with something if it's malevolent. And
Hmm.
but the entity's thinking, well, you wanted to talk to me half an hour ago, so here we are.
Uh,
And like we don't
yeah.
get to do that. We don't get to go stir things up and walk away to leave the family to pick up the pieces. We don't get to do that.
There's a psychological premise that when you open up a wound, you have to close it, and
Yes.
that may be the same thing. You're opening up a portal, and
Yeah. You have to be
so
careful. You have to be careful, you know? Like so there's just a lot of things to
yeah,
factor in.
yeah. Now you mentioned that you didn't care for the term ghost hunting,
Yeah.
and why not? And what would be an appropriate term if ghost hunting is offensive or not to your liking?
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. Let's just say you're dealing with a spirit that doesn't know, like that they're or even if they're stuck there, that maybe they are aware that they're dead. I mean, hunters, what do hunters do? Technically, think, what
Oh,
does a hunter do, right?
they
So,
kill, yeah, yeah.
well, and you're trying to you're ghost hunting, and if you're going in with that mentality, they can read you. So are they going to give you the action, or are they going to maybe try to stay out of your way? 'Cause,
Hmm.
like it's not something that I have favored. It's my own personal thing. I've met a lot of people who don't like the term, and I've
Hmm.
met a lot of people, colleagues who I have a lot of respect for, who use it. So I think it's just it's a thing of it's a personal taste.
Yeah.
Like people, I'm a paranormal investigator. I'm a paranormal researcher. I'm a ghost researcher. I'm just a
Mhm.
researcher. I research
Yeah.
everything. But, you know, I've had people say, "Oh, you're a demonologist." No, no, no. No. It's just an area of study. I'm a student. And
Hmm.
again, that was Lorraine. Dear, we're all students. And I never forgot it. I went, yes, yes, somebody who actually, yes, gets that. And somebody like, at the time I met her, I really respected what she had to say. She goes, we're all students. And it's so correct. I learn something new every single day. I never stop learning. The more I
Hmm.
could learn, the better. It's a journey, and we're never going to have all the answers.
Right.
Half the fun is trying to figure it out.
Hmm.
Right? Like that to
Right.
me is that it's the journey of
Right.
getting there that makes it so interesting. But
Right. Right.
I don't
We're all on a journey. We don't know what the destination is. I
yeah,
mean, the only thing we could do for each other is say that, you know what, you're heading in the right direction. You're doing a good job. That little positive affirmation, that pat on the shoulder. Yeah, I think it's what we all need. But the exciting thing is just the journey, meeting people, and you know,
yeah. I just want to let Angel know you didn't offend me at all. People use it all the time. So no, 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 no. Not at all. Don't worry about that.
no, it was a good topic to bring up and just
Yeah.
to discuss. So yeah,
Like I say, yeah, it's a journey.
right.
Many, many people who I respect dearly, you don't have to apologize. It's okay.
There was.
I'm not at all offended. I'm not at all offended. Like I said, it's a personal taste thing. Many people I respect use the terminology. It is what it is. Just for me, I can only speak for myself. I consider myself a student of the paranormal, and I will always be a student of the paranormal. That's me.
Yeah,
So, ask my 2 cents worth, there it is.
I would love that. I remember, talking about the journey. I remember years ago reading an article in Playboy with Ted Turner, and Ted Turner had the CNN, I think. Uh,
Yeah.
but anyway, one of those news things, maybe TNT or something. But anyway, Ted, yeah. But anyway, he had the America's Cup. He had a yacht, and he had a team, and they would go and compete, for the trophy. And he said that it wasn't about winning, but it was just about being in the game and that competitive spirit and the teamwork and everything. And I remember him reading this. I'm thinking, wow, I got it wrong. I thought that the goal was to win, to get the prize. And he was saying, no, I mean, the fun was just being in the game, on the journey. And that's what I think most of us are starting to find out now, or some of us that are maybe a little bit more, I don't know if the enlightened sounds too presumptuous, but I think that's just the way it works. I mean, being on the
Yeah.
journey is wonderful, and we all do that, and we don't know where it's going to end. And hopefully for some of us, I think no matter, I think it's going to, it's just a, life is good. It's wonderful to do that, to
Yeah.
meet interesting people along the way, and to meet like-minded people, and just to get a, I know with even as an author, if I go to some of these book signings and some people will come up to me and say, I've read your book and I really like, you're a really good writer, and just
Yeah.
that affirmation is just wonderful. I mean, I don't know how you podcasters, are, but with us authors, a lot of times we don't get any kind of a feedback. We live in a sort of like a realm of silence,
Yeah.
and so, but it's nice when people, say that they like what we do, and it's nice to know that our work and our research is being heard and being read,
It's a
and
lot of work and a lot of research. You put a lot into it.
yeah,
And all the time you spend, even coming on these shows and
yeah,
to talk about, whatever book, because
yeah,
we've covered like many of your books.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that, I think I sort of look at these shows because I've done many myself before deciding to host,
hmm,
over the last few years, and it's almost like the meeting of the minds,
yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
you
yeah,
just kind of get in there and get some dialogue going, and
yeah, yeah,
and I love when I learn something new from my guests, and I'm glad
yeah,
if there's something I can contribute that they're like, God, I've learned from you. I'm like, well, I learned a lot from you, and I
yeah.
think that's what it is. It's
No,
about
I've learned from you.
yeah, right. Thank you. But it is. It's about the listeners and the viewers, and this show's always got really great feedback from both guests and listeners
Yeah,
and viewers, and I'm really humbled and grateful for that
yeah,
because the fact that people are willing to wait weeks to come on the show is, to me,
yeah,
is always something that makes me go, "What? Wow, thank you." So it's really a lot of fun to meet people and address so many different
yeah.
cool
And
topics.
yeah, and I don't consider what I do work. I mean, I enjoy being
Yeah,
on the podcast and everything, but I mean, yeah, it is. It takes time. It takes energy, but still, it's a whole lot of fun, and
yeah,
you get to trade ideas, and again, it's a learning experience too. So,
yeah.
um, you know,
Thank you. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. So, what do you have coming up like in the next little bit? Like you are writing this other book. And, do
yeah,
you want to tell us a little bit about that and when we
yeah.
can expect to see it?
Yeah, it's a book about haunted houses, and the working title was "The Silent Scream of the Haunted House," and
It's
I'm
a great
toying with,
title.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm toying with that. But anyway, I take a look at you know ghost hunters, that realm. I take a look at dark tourism. The fact that a lot of people are making money from these haunted houses, these overnights. I just take a look at the if in fact there is an afterlife, if in fact ghosts and spirits and demons exist, then what is the mechanism for communication with us and with them? Do we help them? Do they help us? All of that. So it's things that uh,
Mm.
that I'm looking at. Is it disrespectful to go into a haunted house looking for spirits? I mean,
Mm.
knowing that you may be disrupting them. Is there any danger associated with being a ghost hunter,
Mhm.
other than the physical thing with the asbestos and all the other stuff that could be happening?
Mhm.
So all of those things. But I'm hoping that. Thank you, Kathy. I'm hoping that this is something that ghost hunters will be able to hold on to and look at as sort of a reference book
Mm.
that has it from so I think it's going to be comprehensive, and but I'll tell you what, I'm working on it. It's just like flowing. It's good. It's going to be a good book, and I already discussed it with Hanger One, my publisher,
Mhm.
who I believe are getting ready to launch, I think, Monster Quest again. That was their program. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, the book will be published by Hanger One, and hopefully it'll be published this year. But I'm taking my time. I want to get it right. I just want to make sure that it's I have all the information that I want to have in there, and
Mhm.
and I think what you need to do is compare and contrast informations.
Mhm.
So all of that. So, I think it's going to be, well, I find it fascinating and interesting. And it's just,
Yeah.
the question about why people go ghost hunting. Well, the reason that I, write
Mhm.
these books is because I have just such a real fascination and an affinity for, flying saucers and Bigfoot and everything else. So,
Mm. Yeah. No, I agree. Wayne made a good point. Oh, I have to take this off for a second. Wayne made a really good point. He said, would you consider helping a stuck spirit if you came across one? Reason being, I've heard this a lot, and it's a tough one, because it's big business. With so many investigators, will leave a spirit trap so they can continue to visit the location and get more evidence, which bothers me.
okay, okay.
And Amish says, "Yeah, but maybe that's their path." So that's just another perspective. Some people get ornery about it because it is big business,
Hmm.
and other people are just like, "Oh, no," they'd move them on. But if it's a resident spirit, for example, it's like, "Well, no, we're good to our spirits here," or, like, there's a lot of different viewpoints on that. So something to consider when you're looking about, like dark tourism and things like that. Like, that's just something
Yes.
that I've actually had come up quite a few times.
Yeah. Some researchers believe that they're in a position to do therapeutic service with these spirits.
Yeah.
And if they're lost and confused, maybe they can go and guide them and help them. So
Yeah.
they approach it from that respect. Most of them, I think all of them, talk about being respectful to the
Mhm.
spirits. And that's a good question, though. I mean, if you're just
Yeah.
maybe exploiting that spirit just so that you can get more hits on your devices, that's
Mm.
something else. Again, we haven't really discussed the ethics, the
The code of
morality
ethics, yeah, I
about
mean,
doing
who
this. A code of ethics for
is there one? I
yeah,
mean, common sense to me should prevail. They're
yeah.
spirit people.
Well, be respectful and
Yeah,
be cautious, and
and and if it's something more malevolent, it'd be like poking an invisible bear. Do we wanna do that?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there's the flip side of that as well, you know?
Some researchers go in there with holy water and crucifixes. They have the Saint
Yeah,
Michael the Archangel prayer,
yeah,
prayer of protection. So
yes,
there's things that you could do, but I think when you're doing that, you're filling your head with goodness, with good things.
yes,
So
yes.
that's the protection you need. So I think that in itself is going to help you. But
It
the
doesn't have to
quest
be doom and gloom, basically.
yeah, right, correct,
Yeah,
yeah, but I mean, be well grounded
yeah.
and have a team. Now again, we I was at the last year the Butler Paranormal Conference. I was one of the guest speakers. The Psychic Vincent sisters were there,
Yes.
and a young man stood up and he said that he had been attacked by demons, and he showed these pictures. So his eye was just hanging out. He had scratches and everything. It was really pretty bizarre. So he
Wow.
claimed that it was a female uh, demon that assaulted him in his home.
A
So that was in
succubus.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Yeah, succubus. Yeah. So
yeah, yeah. That's Oh boy, there's
yeah,
some pretty wild ones out there, that's for sure. And
yeah, yeah,
it's what keeps the whole journey moving forward, I guess. And I love that term, the journey, because you don't know what the destination is.
yeah.
It's just something that is ongoing. Because researchers, we're all different. Hauntings are all different. The spirits are all different. The people who live there and in real time are all different. This is what makes it change. Sure, you have similarities, but at the end of the day, there is nothing 100% the same. Therefore, it changes the dynamics, right? So,
Mhm.
but it was a lot of fun. I am really glad that you came to
Oh
hang
yeah.
out. It's always great,
Yes. Yeah.
you
Thank you
know.
so much. Yeah. Well, this was a nice show. Yeah. So thank you so much. Good luck with the blizzard. Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. I hope that everything works
Thank
out.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you guys seem to be in the clear. So
Yeah.
everybody who have been listening, thank you all for tuning in. You guys are all awesome in the chat room. Thank you for your comments and questions. Uh we're getting into next week now on Beyond the Outer Realm. Barbara With comes back with the topic of talking to the dead because as a channeler, she's had incredible communication. So, it's going to be a really good conversation. Wednesday welcomes for the first time author Chris Berryman. His book is called The N1 Sessions, Seasonal Reflections from the Outer Dimensions of Light, communicating with reptilians, Syrians, Palladians. Definitely going to be interesting. And of course, my friend Ira Wolfnesson's coming back on Thursday night with a discussion about UFOs from ancient times, to current, the Nephilim, and from a very old Catholic standpoint. So be prepared for that. And thank you all for tuning in. Again, big shout out and thank you to Joe Montaldo. Happy birthday. And you have been listening to The Outer Realm on United Public Radio Network 105.3 and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. Have a great weekend. If you're in the path of that storm, hunker down, get yourself some stuff, stay in, be good kids. All right. Good night. And good night, Maxim.
Okay. Good night, Michelle. Thank you so much. And we'll keep in touch. And yeah, thanks for everything. This was great. So I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Anytime.
Okay.
Anytime
Okay.
you want. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Be safe out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.